Now we've talked about setting up the to-do list. We've talked about all of the things that you'll see here. We walked through the fact that this is a to-do list that's typical on a crumpled sheet of paper, and that we wanted to begin to use a repeatable tool. That the number one thing, the first thing that you do is you put a date on that so you can take ownership of your day. As we look at this to-do list where it says pay utility bills, groceries, gas, clear off your desk, prepare for the staff meeting, laundry, project for tomorrow, tennis lesson, and dental checkup, we ended the last class or section talking about, do these things frame up with what your job is? If you are in charge of the marketing for a company and your goal is to increase market share by 2%, during that 7 minutes in the evening where you're creating your future to-dos for the next day, and you're brainstorming and you're getting all of that swirling information, have you gone back to remember why you were hired? What is your role? When you were hired for that job, what were the goals that were expected for you to accomplish? And as you look at those goals, are you able to boil them down into daily actions that will constantly move you forward? Do you have that clear understanding? Have you thought about what does it look like to increase your market share? And are those projects that you need to do, again, on the top of your mind? Have you defined what these projects are? In this section, we're going to be talking about, as I clear this off a little bit, we're going to be talking about moving a to-do list with things that, yes, you have to get done, but we call these, from a business perspective, low value activities. What we've been talking about in time management is at least you want to spend a lot of time at least thinking about your high value activities, because there is an enormous difference between putting high value activities on your to-do list and your low value activities. As you look at this list for your role, for the role that you do for your job, now these are things you still have to do. I'm not saying that you don't have to do this, but we're transferring this from a to-do list that is simply filled with things, some important, some not important. But have you taken the time to realize what is going to move you forward in your job to help you accomplish? So let's look. Is paying the utility bill for your work high value or low value? For your job at work, it's low value. Doesn't mean you don't need to do it, but during your job, is it high value or low value? Picking up the groceries, low value. Getting gas in your car, low value. Cleaning off your desk, low value. A lot of times we put these things clear off desk because they've been bothering us, but we clear off our desk because it's more fun than actually preparing for a staff meeting. Preparing for a staff meeting is high value. Doing the laundry, low value. Planning for the project tomorrow, high value. Taking a tennis lesson for work is low value, but I consider anything that you do for your personal, this would be a personal, incredibly high value activity. Same thing's true for your physical health. From a personal standpoint, this is incredibly high value. As you look at this, you're going to still put your personal things on your to-do list, but as you look at this list now, standing back, how many items on your to-do list are high value for your job, and how many of these are low value? as you look at those things, there are 2 high-value activities on your list. 2 high-value activities on your list. Now, that should say something to us in that we're really not trained to focus on what we need to do every day. There's a lot of confusion about who needs to do it, how it needs to be done. So I'm going to walk you through an example of a worksheet that goes along with creating your to-do list. I'm going to add this to the downloadable tools, a blank one. And as you look at this, this is a goal worksheet that I began to use, that I designed to help my team make sure we're focusing on a goal. Now, in your work world, you're going to have more than one goal. So you'd have several of these. But take a look at what's different about having actions that are going to move you forward toward a goal and having something just written down as prepare for staff meeting or work on project. This is a worksheet that is a goal, and it's very clear. That's part of the things. Here's the goal. We want to increase market share by 2% in the next 90 days. In order to accomplish a goal, you have to create action steps. You have to know what you need to do. After you've created the action steps, you then have to add the high value activities. So I'm going to blow this up. You have to have these high value activities. Do you remember how many high value activities we had on the standard to-do list? We had 2. And even though we had 2 high value activities, they weren't really clearly broken down. All that they said was prepare for the staff meeting, there's no detail. When you write down prepare for the staff meeting, that is actually a project, not a micro action. In other words, you can't do prepare for the staff meeting. There's nothing you can do. It's a project. In order to prepare for the staff meeting, you would need to have these tiny steps. For example, to prepare for a staff meeting, you would need to look and see who's going to be there. Who's going to be there? What is the topic that you need to plan? What is the goal for the meeting? And what is going to be the outcome? What are the next steps that are going to be taken? Who's going to be there? If you're going to prepare for the staff meeting, the micro action would be literally to make a list of the people who are coming to the meeting. What? This is another micro action. What are you going to be talking? Create the agenda. I can't spell it. Create the agenda for the meeting so that you go step by step. At the top of the agenda, have a goal. One sentence. What are you wanting to accomplish in this meeting? And then have an outcome with next action steps. These are things you can do. Project that you had written down on your to-do list. Prepare for staff meeting is meaningless. You don't know what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. Preparing for a staff meeting should not be on a to-do list because you can't do this. It is actually can be on your to-do list, but it should be labeled as a project, and those projects should be broken down in these micro actions. A micro action is something you can complete in less than 20 minutes. Why? Because the human attention span is very slow. So if you're going to prepare for a staff meeting, you need to write down before the staff meeting, who's going to be there? Create a list. What are you going to talk about? Create an agenda. What is the goal for the meeting? Think through that. Create what you want to accomplish. Finally, think through the outcome. Before you go in the meeting, if you're leading the staff meeting, What do you want the outcome to be? And what are the next action steps that you want to leave with? High value activity, yes. Broken down, not yet. The second high value activity that you had on your to-do list, I think you can see where these things are going. The second high value activity was to complete the project. Well, completing the project is actually not something you can do. It's not a to-do because you can't just complete the project. It's actually a project in its own. In order to create the project and to finish it, you have to, from the very beginning, clarify why it's important. Is this project moving me forward towards my goal? Is it important? Is it due now? What's the outcome? What are the steps I need to take? And when will I know it is finished? Think through why this is different than the to-do list we were just looking at. Think through why this is different than the to-do list that we were just looking at. Let's go back. When you look at this list and you're walking into the office, is this to-do list giving you clarity and helping you understand what tomorrow is? To answer that question, what is my goal for tomorrow? Tomorrow. What is my goal for tomorrow? That's where we want to go. You remember these circles. All of this begins to tie together. There are 24 hours in the day, 1,440 minutes. All that the 7-minute life is going to teach, is going to help you do, is choose to take 1% of your time, which is 14 minutes, 1% of your time to think, to get everything out of your mind, to do this 7 minutes and to get everything out of your mind, to write these things down. Yes, you have to pay your utility bill. You have to create time to buy your groceries and to get gas. At some point, you do need to clear off your desk. But as you create your list, what's going to be radically different as you think about these things in the 7 minutes in the evening, you're not just going to write down things that may be high value or low value. All of those things are going to go in there. But what are those things that are high value that have an impact on your role as a team member, moving you forward? This 7 minutes in the evening will create concrete steps to move you forward. And the 7 minutes in the morning, things change. In this section, you will recalibrate what you need to do. Let me continue on. This is the overarching sheet. Now let's take a look at it with a blown up piece of action. Our goal is to increase market share by 2% in the next 90 days. That is a very specific goal that I know I can work toward. Now, if I'm a senior leader in this company, I need to be very clear about what the goals are on a short-term basis. If as a leader, when I have people as a direct report to me, my goal, it's crazy, my job is to help my team understand the goal. This is incredibly important. Do you know right now what you're to be working on and what the outcome and end result is and the deadline that it needs to be done? You're walking into the office with the to-do list that we've created without really training. So let's take a look at this. This is how you create a better to-do list. First, you know what you need to do. After you've created the goal, you then have to break it down into action steps. What are the actions that are going to move me forward? So I'm thinking through, how can I increase market share by 2%? It's probably not surprising that the first thing you need to do is go back and remind your team what market share is. You'd be surprised at how many people think this is what market share is. This is what market share is. We have to be on the same page. So the first action is actually a project. You can't remind my team what market share is. What actions, what are some of the high value micro actions that you might be able to take that you can do in less than 20 minutes? Set time on the calendar. These are the kind of things that you can do. Set time on your calendar to simply schedule a meeting. Takes 5 minutes. Get clear on the why you want to do this. In other words, in your own mind, why is it important for you to remind your team what market share is? So you're going to think through personally, and then you're going to find that goal to your team. You're going to create an agenda, just simple. That may take you 20 minutes. Can you see that if you just wrote down, remind team of what market share is, that is not something that can go on your to-do list. It is high value, so you might write down, first remind your team of what market share is, but then as you plan out your day, you're going to break these things down into high value micro actions. How easy is this? First, remind your team of what market share is. Set the time on the calendar. You step back with a piece of paper, get clear on why they need to know it. Then you define the goal to your team. In other words, here's step one. We're going to talk about what market share is. We're going to define the things that we can do to help market share. We're going to designate when we want to understand this. Now you have something that you can put on your to-do list. Let's look at action number 2. After you've defined it, it's going to be important to brainstorm what type of actions are going to move you forward. Market share increasing is very different than it is in each industry. So you want to have a brainstorming meeting with various levels of management with 4 to 5 people. Too often we see just the people at the senior level trying to come up with market share, and we don't involve all the levels of our team, of our business, to help brainstorm that. First thing you do, you set a time, an hour to brainstorm with the team. You include various opinions. You teach people, and you identify and write down the 5 suggestions, the 5 best suggestions. So this entire meeting is going to be 1 hour. It's something you can actually schedule. You can actually do this. You can have a meeting, but you're going to make sure that you have an agenda. So you're breaking things down. You're going to write down opinions. You're going to identify and write down the 5 suggestions. Had I not come into this meeting knowing what I wanted to accomplish, knowing that here's the outcome, I want to brainstorm, I want to include opinions, and I want to identify and write down the suggestions, this is the outcome of the meeting. Most people will write on their to-do list, I have a meeting to brainstorm. What does that mean? Is it something you can do? I think you're getting the idea of this. If this were a class that we were just focusing on high value activities, we would walk completely through it. But in this section, I want you to compare the to-do list that you walked in with, things that you have to do, pay utility bill for your work, low value, groceries, low value, get gas in the car, low value, clean off the desk, low value. And not only is it low value, it would likely take either 5 hours or 5 days, depending on how much. So obviously this is a project. Prepare for the staff meeting is high value, but it's a project. It's not something you can do. You actually have to plan for that. Laundry is low value at work. Project for tomorrow is high value, but you haven't defined what that is. So it's not something you can actually put on your to-do list. It's a project, not a micro action. We have to have micro actions that we can completely start and completely finish in less than 20 minutes. Obviously, this is a guide, this 20 minutes, but you can't do something for 5 hours. The tennis lesson is low value at work, possibly. Well, maybe not. It's high value for me personally. A dental checkup is high value for me personally. But as you go back and look at these things on this goal, when you create your to-do list, do you have this sheet of paper in front of you? Are you waking up in the evening or waking up in the morning and still grabbing an envelope or a sticky note? Or worst of all, are you attempting to create a mental to-do list? The to-do list is the most important first step of planning your day. The to-do list is the beginning of time management, productivity, efficiency. For the last years of your life, have you created a high-value to-do list, or have you only known how? It's not something bad. Have you only been trained to just grab an envelope, write down what you need to do so you won't forget it? Staple sticky notes to your car keys, or worst of all, have you just been, as you're in your car driving to the office, created a mental to-do list, which these mental to-do lists are like dry erase boards. That when you walk into this office with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as soon as you open your email, the things that you've said you were going to do are gone. The goal for this section is to show you the simplicity of communicating in a way that you grab this sheet of paper every day. You just look at it and you say, these are the things that I need to do. When should I do them? How should I do them? And you can see the simplicity of coming into the office with an actual to-do list that will move you forward. This is creating a high value to-do list. Imagine accomplishing these things step by step by step. You can compare this to the to-do worksheet that you've been working on now. This to-do list is going to eventually have these high value activities on them. And we go through the case study. Once you have, and you're going to have some low value activities. You're going to have high value, you're going to have low value. There are even things at work that you need to do that are low value, and they're still moving you forward. But as we go through the final case study, the other key to having your to-do list, after you've created, you've looked at your goals, next step is you're now going to take that list that was just a brainstorm, and you're going to say, this is the number one thing I need to do. I do need to take care of this low value activity. That's number 2. You're looking at this list and you are filtering it down because you understand the limited capacity of time. And you know every project that you let into your day is automatically going to knock out time for you to focus on something else. You've written down your list. I'm going to focus on these things. I'm prioritizing. And some of these things absolutely may be low value, but they're important to get done. After you have ranked these things, the next step on your to-do list is going to be how long each one of these will take. Now, in just a moment, I'm just going to show you this. After you've created what you know, your goals, you're going to take all of these things, and this makes life a lot simpler. And you're going to say, okay, on Monday of this month, we're going to have that meeting that clarifies what market share is. And then on this day, we're going to move forward in doing the brainstorming. Everything that you do is going to have a timeline and a deadline. You're going to actually set dates. And then after you've set the dates, in the very next section, we're going to talk about how you schedule these high value activities, how you estimate how long they will take, and what part of the day you're going to do them. As a very last piece of this, I'm going to go back to the to-do list that you created. Hopefully you're seeing that now we need to create more important things, but if this were your list, the number one thing that you would have to do is prepare for this staff meeting at 11 a.m. The second thing that you may clearly need to do is pay your utility bill if it's done today. You may need to simply make a dental checkup. So those things are important. The fourth thing is that you have a project due tomorrow at 4:30. Some of these things, like make the dental checkup, are going to probably take less than 15 minutes. Pay the utility bill online may take you 5 minutes. Prepare for the staff meeting that you have at 11 o'clock. If you get to the office at 8, if you want to create the full agenda for this and break it down from this project into micro actions, that well could take you, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes to come in prepared. So you need to know how long each one of these things is going to take. The project for tomorrow is very big. It's going to possibly take you 2 hours. If something's going to take more than 20 minutes, it's truly a project. You then need to break down the steps. So you're writing down all of these things. I'm going to just clear this off at the last one. Your to-do list, we're just making a recap. First thing is to date this worksheet. As a recap, you want to take ownership of your day. Regardless of who tells you what projects you need to work on, you need to make consistent effort to take that 7 minutes to think through exactly what you're going to do. We have so many problems that as we go through this process, I just want you, as you're sitting down in the evening, to literally brainstorm everything that you need to do and put it in this one location. Why? Because as you put these together, you can go back and say, when was I wanting to do this? The emotional impact of creating a to-do list that has high value activities is that you realize you personally have choices that you can make. You also can recognize that the things that you are writing on your to-do list, you can ask, are they projects or are they micro actions? You can use this worksheet as, here are the important things I need to do. Here are the things I don't want to forget to do. And as you write these things down, just whatever is on your mind, it doesn't matter if it's important or not important. You're going to come back and look at these things and say, this is important. This is a high value action I need to complete. This is a high value action. This one is low value, but I still need to complete it. This one is high value. You're going to take a look at the things. You're then going to prioritize which ones are first. This one might be first, second, and third, and sometimes that's all you can do. That's all you can do. You're still going to prioritize these things. So this may be 4, 5, 6, 7, but you're going to recognize that limited amount of time as you plan these things out. This low value activity, may take you 15 minutes. This high value activity may actually take you 2.5 hours. You're just estimating. This one that you've said is number 3 may take only 20 minutes. Number 4, I don't know, may take 20 minutes. You can go through this. What you're going to see is that if you've looked at your goal worksheet, you've looked at it and you understand, here's where we're heading. These are the sections that we are following through. Then your to-do list can bring you right back in alignment with where you want to head through your work. If you're a stay-at-home mom, if you have part-time work, if you're a teacher, if you're a minister, if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a construction person, the same thing is true, is that everything you're going to create is going to begin by knowing where you want to go. Every to-do list is going to begin by where you want to go. We're going to talk about groceries. We're going to be talking about gas. We're going to talk about handling your email. But in this section, part 3, we've talked about taking that to-do list and recognizing that at least part of what you do every day has got to be trained on accomplishing high value activities. This is one of my favorite sections to teach. I'm so excited that you've had an opportunity to walk through this, and we're going to continue the conversation about how now you can schedule your day moving forward. I'll see you in the next section.